Please remember that the complete information for the class that you are about to view is at elithecomputerguy.com. Not only do we have our videos there, but we have part lists, diagrams, pictures, and even complete code examples. So if you are watching this video and you want more information, please go to elithecomputerguy.com. Welcome back. As you know, I am Eli the Computer Guy, and in today's class I'm going to be showing you how to create a network up-down detector using if-else statements. So in a previous project, I showed you how to create a network up-down connector using a function called shell_exec, and basically what shell_exec does is it simply returns the value of whatever command you give it and prints it out into the web browser. So essentially what I did is I gave it the command of ping --c1 to ping a website once, and then whatever the domain name is or whatever the IP address is, and then it would ping it once, and then that single reply would come back and it would be get printed into the web browser. So that was a very simple way to create a network up-down detector. But one of the problems with that is basically all you're doing is printing out the results of whatever the ping command is. So if the ping command fails, it's able to resolve the DNS name but is unable to ping. It'll give you a little failure thing, just the normal ping failure. If it's unable to resolve the domain name, it wouldn't give you anything at all. And if it is able to resolve the domain name and is able to ping the device or the server, then it gives you simply that one packet was received, so on and so forth. So it's a very simple project to create, a very simple up-down detector. But you can't do a hell of a lot with it. You can't really format it. You can't really make it very sophisticated. And so it has a lot of limitations. So what I'm going to be showing you how to do today is we're going to be using something called the exec function, right? So we had the shell_exec function. So that was one function, and that allows you to send a command to the shell, to the operating system, and then get the results back. Basically, what exec allows you to do is you're able to do the same thing, but what's really cool is you're able to put the results into an array. And then once the results are in an array, then you can parse the array. Basically, you can try to read through the array, and then based off of the values that you see in the array, you can create if-else statements. And so once you're able to do that, then you can start doing very, very sophisticated things. Today, we're just going to make it simple. We're just going to say whether IP addresses or domains are up or down. But in the future, you could log things to a database. So again, if you have that if-else, now that we have this complicated, these if-else statements that we can do, you can say, else, if the ping doesn't work for some reason, log this to a database. And then you can actually have a log of when pings worked properly, when pings did not work properly. You could do charts off of that. You could do reports off of that, so on and so forth. Or, again, with the if-else statements, now what we're simply going to do is we're going to say, if you can ping the website, if you get a response from the website, simply print out on the screen that the website is up, else the website is down. But now, since we have that else, since we have that if-else statement, what we could also do is we could create a little notification function. Else, if a website or a server is not reachable, then send an SMS text, then send an email, then do something else, trigger X, Y, or Z events to happen. And so that's why the project that I'm showing you today is so cool and interesting, because now you can actually start parsing the results from the pings that you're sending out there, and then based off of what those results are, you can then have actions automatically fire off. So what I'm going to be showing you how to do today is I'm going to be showing you how to create this up-down detector. Again, what we're going to be doing is using the exec function in PHP. We are going to send the ping command, much like we did in the last project. The only difference now is we're going to be sending the results of that ping command into an array that we've created. We are then going to parse through that array. If we see something in the array that we want, then we're going to set a value, and based off of that value, we're going to have an event fire off. So that is the class that we're going to be doing today. So there's not really any horrible warnings for today. There is just one thing to keep in mind with the exec function when it sends the value of the results of the shell command to the array. And the important thing to understand here is that when the exec function sends the results from the shell command to the array that we've created, that when that happens, it will append the array, not overwrite the array. So basically, we're going to be using a for each function here to loop through all of the values in an array. So we're going to have an array, and that array is going to have all the IP addresses or domain names we're going to be trying to ping, right? So we're going to use a for each statement to loop through there. Well, every time we go through that for each statement, we're going to call the exec function, we're going to call the ping shell command, and then we're going to output the results to a different array that we've created. Well, when it goes through, by default, it's going to be appending. It's going to be adding to that array, not overwriting the array. So a lot of times, the default when you're writing to a file or folder or whatever is basically to overwrite whatever's there. So the previous information gets overwritten by the new information, then gets overwritten. Well, with this, the default is to append to. So basically, the first for each statement you write to the array, then the next for each it writes to the array, then the next for each it writes to the array, the next for each it writes to the array, the next for each it writes to the array, and then you start getting a mess. So instead of when you try to parse and you try to read what's in the array, instead of reading just the results that you just received, you're now reading everything that's come into the array up until that point, and disaster can basically ensue. It's not pretty. It's not pretty when you're appending to an array when you think you're supposed to be overwriting an array. So every time we're going through the for each function, one of the first things that we're going to do is we're going to unset the array. So basically the unset function allows you to delete all of the values in an array. So that is literally the first function we're going to call. So when we go to the for each, we're going to go through, again, all the domain names or all the IP addresses we've put into an array. The first thing that is going to trigger is that unset to delete all of the values in the result array so that when we're actually trying to read through that array in the future, we don't get previous results mixed in. So that's kind of the only warning here. So with that, let's go over, take a look at the actual demonstration, show you what this project is supposed to look like. Then I'm going to go to the whiteboard, kind of draw out, what is happening here, logically what is happening, and then I'll go and show you the code. So here we are on my demonstration computer. For the demonstration computer, all you need is a computer with a web browser. Basically, all I'm doing is I'm accessing the web server at 10.0.1.10, and then I am calling the updownmonitor.php script. So all I need is a web browser. Doesn't matter what computer, what operating system you're using here. So with this particular script, I am using the auto refresh feature in HTML. So in HTML, you can actually set for the page to auto refresh, and so this is auto refreshing approximately every 5 seconds. So we have a title here, and then we have the time code here to show me that it actually is auto refreshing and did not somehow get locked up. Past that, we then have a number of different things we're trying to ping here. So we're trying to ping. This is for our default gateway. So I know my default gateway is 10.0.1.1. So we're going to ping the default gateway, verify that the default gateway is doing what it's supposed to do. We're going to be pinging Google, we ping Salesforce, we ping Facebook, and then I'm pinging a domain or an IP address down here that I know points to nowhere, and so we can see this is down. So we can see right now that my default gateway is up, we can see Google is up, we can see Salesforce is up, we can see Facebook is up, and just as a control, we're pinging something that I know is supposed to be down, so we can see that this is down. And so this is all getting printed out basically just from the if-else statement that we have in the script. We could have something more complicated here. We could have fancy CSS, we could have background colors, we could have flashing lights. Again, we could be triggering email messages or so on and so forth. All I'm doing is simply printing out, whether the site is up or down. Just to show you that this does work dynamically, if I go over to my code and I actually modify the IP address for the default gateway. So I'm going to modify this IP address to something where I know it's going to fail. I'm going to save. And then when it goes through and it auto refreshes itself, we're going to see the new IP address, and then we will see that that IP address is going to be down. It'll take a second because it's going to fail out here. Any old time. There we go. Okay, so you can see I just modified this IP address to be something that I know will fail, and we can see that automatically went down. So I'm going to reset this to what it should be, and then I'm going to screw with a Salesforce URL. So we're going to make it Salesforce.com instead of Salesforce.com. My file, I'm going to hit save. When this refreshes again in about 5 seconds, we will see the default gateway will go back to being up again, and then we'll see Salesforce will fail out. Again, with these, you always got to wait for the timeout. There we go. And so we can now see that the default gateway is up, and we can see Salesforce. Basically, I removed the .com, so essentially I fat fingered this, but just to show you, for whatever reason, if it fails, then this is going to show that it's down. And so this is a dynamic. This is constantly every 5 seconds. It's updating. It is then writing out the results using the if-else statement. And again, the cool thing about this is all I'm doing is printing out up or down, but as I say, you could have this print out something far more complicated using CSS. You can trigger messaging apps, SMS, logging to a MySQL database, all of those types of things. So let's go over to the whiteboard. I'm just going to logically explain what is happening, and then I will show you the code itself. Okay, so let's diagram what we're going to be doing in this script, and then we're going to go over and take a look at the actual code itself. So we had a previous project. Again, before we were using a function called shell_exec. And the cool thing with the shell_exec is what this does is you can send a command directly to the operating system shell, and then it'll return the result that you can automatically print out on the screen. So again, the previous project that we did, we simply tried to ping these different IP addresses or these different domain names one time, and the results were simply printed out on the screen. The problem with that is that all you're doing is printing the results. And so it's just as ugly and tedious and horrible and almost useless. Not useless, you got some use there, but it's not very useful. All it is basically getting the results of the command. So what we really want to be able to do is we want to be able to get back the results from a command in a format that we can then try to read with the PHP code so that we can then create if-else statements based off of if certain conditions are true in the results. And so that's why today we are going to be using the exec command. So basically with the exec command, what happens with the exec function is you call exec, you put in the command, you format the command however you want to format the command. So we're going to be, today it's going to be ping space -c space 1, and then we're going to do the value for the URL or the IP address that we're trying to ping. And then past that you do a comma, and then you put the variable name for an array. So basically we're just going to create an array here. And then what's going to happen is the results from this command are then going to get fed into the array. And then once it's in an array, then we can read through that array just like it's an array, because it's an array, right? Again, the most important thing, one of the big warnings here is realize with the exec command, it appends. So when we talk about append, basically that means it adds to, right? So basically when this command fires, it's going to send the results to the array, and by default it is going to append. So it's just going to keep adding to the array. That is not what we want, because we want to be able to read the results for the particular instance when we ran the command. So we want to actually overwrite the array, not append to it. So that's why the first thing that we're going to be doing in the for each function for stepping through the array for all the IP addresses and the URLs, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to use the unset function. So there's a function called unset. And with unset, you feed it the array, and it deletes all of the values in the array. So all of those will get wiped out, right? So basically, the logic of what's happening here is the first thing is we're going to have an array, and this array is going to have all of the IP addresses and all of the URLs that we are going to try to ping, right? So basically, google.com, facebook.com, 10.0.1.1, 10.0.1.24, so on and so forth is going to be in this array. Then what's going to happen is we're going to go and we're going to use a for each. So basically, we're going to use a for each. And for that, we're going to, turn the array into the URLs, as URL. So basically with this for each, we are then going to be stepping through this array to test for the different IP addresses and the different domain names that we gave it. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to unset the array that we are going to create from the exec command. So basically we're going to use this exec, basically this execute command, and we're going to unset any values in the array. Because remember with for each is going to loop through all of the values up here for the IP address. So the first thing we're going to do is simply make sure that the array that we're creating for the exec command is absolutely empty, so we don't have to worry about it. The next thing that we're then going to do is we're going to call the exec. We are going to give it the ping command with the URL, and then we're going to feed the value to an array. Then what we're going to do is we're actually going to do a for each on this new array. So we have this new array, and we're going to try to step through this, and we're then going to take a look at the individual values in this array, and then check to see if something is true. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually try to read through all the different strings in this array. So when we call the execute command, it's going to ping, all the values go into the array. Then what we're going to do is we're going to call this new array. We're going to step through the new array, and we're looking for a particular set of words. So this is an important thing to be thinking about when you're parsing results from one of your commands, is you have to think about what result do you want? Like what result equals good, right? What means that the command actually worked how it was supposed to. So one of the things that we're going to be looking for is we are going to be looking for one received. So I'll show you this in the code. But basically what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be looking and seeing if anywhere in this array we get the value 1 received. So when we send the ping command, I'll show you this on the computer, when we send the ping command and the ping command does what it's supposed to do, there's a whole bunch of information that's sent back to you, and I'm looking for some set of words that state that this command actually worked. And so one of the things that I glommed onto is that when the ping command actually works, one of the things that you always get back is simply X amount is received. So since we send 1 ping command, 1 goes out. If 1 comes back, if 1 is received, then it worked right. So basically, if we see this 1 received in the array, we are going to set success. The success value, we're basically going to say that the IP address or the domain name is up. And then basically what we're going to say is, if it's up, then print out up, else it's down, print out down. So this kind of gives you an idea of what we're going to be doing in this particular code. Again, we're going to be using the execute command, the exec. We're going to give it the command. The value is going to go to the array. Then basically we're going to go through and we're going to parse that array looking for some set of words, some value that we know should be there. If it's successful, we are going to be looking for 1 received. If we see 1 received in the value that's come back, then we can basically do an if-else statement, and based off of whether we get the 1 received or did not get the 1 received, we will have different things fire off. So with that, let's go over and actually take a look at the code. So here we are at the code, and as you can see, the code actually isn't too long. Even with HTML and everything else, this only comes out to about 36 lines. But hey, leave it to Eli the computer guy to take 30 minutes or whatever to explain 30 lines of code. So when we first take a look at this, the first thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be opening up with the HTML. So again, one of the most important things about this particular script is that it's dynamic. It automatically fires off however often you want it to fire. And so with me, I want the page to auto refresh every 5 seconds. So in order to make that happen, within the head, use the meta tag and then http-equiv equals refresh. and then content, and then you say however many seconds. So 5 equals 5 seconds. And so basically we just open up this PHP script. The top of it will be HTML, and of course at the end we'll also close the HTML. Then in the middle, we're going to have our PHP script. When we take a look at this, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create an array for all of the websites or the IP addresses that we want to test against. So instead of creating, 20 different individual variables, we can simply create one array with all the values we want to test against, and then we can use the for each function to step through all of those values. So we have websites equals an array, and then 10.0.1.1, google.com, salesforce.com, facebook.com, and 10.0.1.24. So the values are in between double quotation marks, and then you use a comma to separate all of those values. You close the parentheses, and of course you put the semicolon. Then what we're going to be doing is we need a value for good. We need a value for good. And so this is a very important thing. Again, if you're going to be parsing, Remember, nothing magically happens with computers. It's not like, ooh, it magically happens, right? You have to figure out what the hell you're testing for. So one of the things you need to figure out is if the response is good or if the response is bad, what result do you know that you will get, right? So if we go over here, basically the command that I'm going to be sending using this particular script is going to be ping --c1. So what this is going to do is it's going to ping once. Do remember, in the Linux world, at least generally by default, if you run the ping command, it will ping forever and ever, amen. And so basically if you start the ping command and you don't give it a limitation, right, it will just keep pinging forever, and then everything kind of goes to hell. So give it a limitation, at least one. So for me, I'm going to give this a ping --c, ping once. And then let's say we're going to ping cnn.com, right? Then we're going to hit enter. And so we can see that this ping actually worked, right? So ping cnn.com, we got the IP address back, we got bytes of data, we got a whole bunch of different information here. And so one of the things that I need to figure out from these results is what about these results are true regardless of what I ping. So if I ping --c 1 10.0.1.1, so this is my default gateway. Okay, I'm taking a look at that, and then it'd be ping --c, and then I don't know, I do failnormal.com. Oops. Oh, messed up with that one. Make sure you do the right command, --c1. Okay, so we did failnormal.com. So we're taking a look at this, and so we can see, okay, cnn.com. So the IP addresses are different, right? So that's different for every time we did a ping. This is different. We get ping statistics. So what is true? And that's where I took a look at this. So 1 packet transmitted, 1 packet received. 1 packet transmitted, 1 packet received. We come down here, 1 packet transmitted, 1 packet received. So therefore we know if we ping and it's true, then we get 1 received. So if I ping again, Salesforce.com, so I leave out the .com and I do --c1. So I ping Salesforce.com once. Okay, so I get name or service not found, right? So okay, so I don't get 1 received back there. If I ping C1 10.0.1. Let's say 24. I know this IP address doesn't exist. So I ping that. So it's trying to ping that. We're getting the results back. And so 1 packet transmitted, 0 received, right? So what I know now is that every time I run this command, if it's successful, if I'm able to ping and it's successful, I get this little snippet here. I get this little string, 1 received. So I'm going to test based off of that. Again, for you, you may look at something like 0% packet loss. Maybe that's what you're interested in. But you have to be very careful. You have to be very careful of what you're testing against actually gives you the results that you're looking for. So for me, I'm taking a look at that, and it's 1 received. So basically what we do here is I create a value for good. So basically if this is successful, and that is going to be the string 1 received. So every time we ping these different IP addresses or domain names, what I'm going to be looking for is, do I get a response of 1 received somewhere within the results? If yes, then we're going to say that the website is up. If not, if it doesn't exist in the results, then it's going to say the website is down. We are then going to create a variable simply called success value, and so we're going to be able to test against that success value. Basically, was it successful? Essentially, did one received work? Did we get one received or not? So then we're going to come down here, we're going to echo out, we're simply going to have the title on the page, site status, and then we are going to print out the timestamp. So just to make sure you're clear where we're at, so we're here at site status, and then we're printing out that timestamp. Again, putting timestamps on your pages, especially when you're developing them, is very useful simply to verify they are updating the way that they're supposed to. And then we're going to go down, we're simply going to go to the for each. And so what we're going to notice here is we have a nested for each. So this for each is going to go through the websites array. This for each is going to go through the result array that is going to come from that exec command. So the first thing we're going to do is for each websites, so websites array, basically we're going to step through and turn all of the values in this array to a variable value for URL. The first thing that we're going to do here is we're going to unset $result. Right? So down here at the exec command, this is where we're going to set the array result. Again, remember, when you do this, it appends to the array. It does not overwrite. So the first thing that I'm going to do to make my life a lot easier is every time we loop through this for the IP address or the domain name, I'm simply going to unset. I'm going to delete all of the values in the array result, so I know I'm starting with a clean array. Then I'm simply going to set the success value, basically the success value we're testing against. I'm going to set this to down so that it starts as down. So basically it's going to assume that the website is down unless it sees one received, and then it will set the value to be up. So this is giving it a default position. Again, every time it loops through, this also makes sure that I don't keep a setting from the previous for each loop, that basically, again, it starts clean. So we start with our array being clean, and we start with the success value as down to start with. Then what we're going to do is we're going to use the execute function. We're then going to do double quotation marks, and then we're going to do ping space -c1. Now this is very important when you're using the exec or shell exec or any of these functions. When you're going to be adding the value of a variable, simply put that variable within a single quotation mark. So you don't do the normal concatenation. You don't do periods or any of that crap. You simply do a single quotation mark. You put the variable that you want in the command, and then you close the single quotation mark. So basically what this is going to do is this is going to go ping space -c space 1 10.0.1.1, and then it's going to go through. And then the next time it's going to do ping space -c space 1 google.com. And so basically that's what we're going to be looping through. Now what's going to happen here is the results of this command are then going to be sent to the value of the result array. So this is going to create an array called $result, and whatever the results of the ping command are, it's going to be sent to the result. And what's going to happen here is that every line that's submitted, basically that's returned from the command, is going to be turned into one value in an array. So you'll have index 0 being a string, index 1 being a string, index 2 or key 2 being a string, key 3 being a string, so on and so forth. And so what's going to happen here then, again, that's very important. You're not getting one big string back, you're getting an array back. So basically for each $result as line, so basically we're going to then step through the values in the array, the lines in the array, and then we're going to use this particular function here. So strpos, what this does is it looks for a string value in a string. And so what we're going to be looking for is, as we're stepping through this array, are we going to find the good value? So we're going to feed it the line. So this is the line. And then we're going to say strpos, this is the value, this is the line in the array. Is this string in this? If it equals true, so only two equal marks. So if it equals true, then we're going to say the success value is going to go to up. So basically it's going to step through all of the lines in the array. If any of those lines has one received in it, then the success value is going to equal up. And then what we're going to go down here is we're going to echo. We're going to echo out simply the word address and then whatever the URL is. Then what we're going to say is if success value is up, so when it was looping through all of the values in the array, if it found one received somewhere in there, it's going to set the value to be up. So if the value is up, echo site is and the success value. So again, we could have something far more complicated here. Else, echo site is and whatever the success value is, so then it would be down, right? Then we're simply going to break out of all of this. We're going to echo 2 breaks, basically to break from one line, give one line a space, and then we're going to go back and we're going to do the for each statement again. So this is what we're doing when we're doing this. Now, to give you a little bit better of an idea, again, when I start talking about exec, returning the values of the command to a variable, to an array. Let me just do something here just so you get a little bit of an idea of what we're really meaning. So basically if I do echo here, let me do break. Let me do break, break. Just give me 2 lines here. And then what I can do is I can do var dump. And then basically we're going to var dump the values of result. So here, basically, again, the value that comes from exec. So basically, whatever this command is, the value goes to result, and then we're testing for it here. All I'm going to do at the very end is do an actual var dump of result, so you get an idea of what that array looks like. So if I click save, and then we go over, and then we just force the refresh here. What we should be getting in a second. There we go. So this is the actual var dump that we're getting. So when I say the results of the command go into an array, this is what those arrays look like, and then this is what we're stepping through, and this is what we're looking for. So again, the array, ping.0.1.1, that's at index 0. At index 1, it's giving you some information, and basically what I'm looking is I'm trying to look through all of this and again find something I can test against. So what we can see here is at index 4, see how I have 1 received, right? So that's something that I can actually then test against. Again, index 4, 1 received. Index 4, 1 received, and again, index 4, 1 received. Then we come down here, and again, we look at this, the address 10.0.1.24, and we take a look at what the results are, and if we come, we can see 0 received. So 0 received obviously isn't 1 received, so then it's showing site down. If I go and I change the array a little bit, let's say Google.com, I'm going to do Google.com instead of Google.com. So up here in a second, this will get modified. And so now what we can see here is, again, when we do the var dump and we print out all the values in the array, there are no values in the array because the command wasn't able to successfully execute because Google.com is not an actual domain name, and so it was not able to find an IP address and actually be able to fire off the ping command. And so this is what we're doing when we're going through. And again, we're parsing all the values in the array. And so basically what we're looking for here is with this strpos, this particular function, what we're looking for is this in one of the lines as we step through the array, if that makes any sense. So that's basically how this little up-down detector works. And again, it kind of shows you how you can start testing against the return values from an exec function, and then with that, create if-else statements and start to do something that's really sophisticated. So there you go. Now you know how to create a little bit more complicated network up-down monitor. And again, the very cool thing about this is you're not simply getting the results back and printing them on the screen. You're actually getting the results back, testing based off of the values of the results that you're getting back, and then based off of those tests, doing an if-else statement. And again, if you get 1 received, then things are good, and you print out things are good. And if you do not get 1 received for whatever reason, if the domain name doesn't resolve, or whether it can't be pinged named or whatever else. Basically the else, you don't get that one received back, and then you can fire off whatever events you want to have happen. Here, we're simply printing out that the website is down or unreachable for some reason. Again, this is what you can be thinking about, is possibly you would want this to be logged into a database server. So imagine if you have websites, and it's very important that the websites are up 99.999% of the time. You could set this up on your server to constantly be communicating with your own websites and verifying that they actually are up 99% of the time. Again, if there's an else, so basically if it fails out, you can have that get logged into a database, and then you could read from that database. You could create some kind of reporting script from the database and show you every day how often that the website was not unreachable. That's something that you can do. Or again, with your servers, again, either with infrastructure as a service, so you're using AWS servers, you're using DigitalOcean, Linode, or with your own servers, again, firing off some kind of notification event. So if your servers are unreachable for some reason, that you get an email, you get an SMS, you get some other kind of message sent directly to you to tell you, hey, your server is now currently unreachable. You might want to do something about that, right? And that's the cool thing about this, is once you're able to parse the results and then be able to test those results in an if else if whatever type statement scenario, then you can start doing some far more complicated things. And that's why this is pretty cool. So the exec function, if you haven't taken a look at the exec function, definitely take a look at the exec function. You're able to give it the command you want to send to the operating system, and then you're able to take the results that are given from it, turn that into an array. Do remember that array by default appends, does not overwrite. So if you're looping, do make sure to use the unset function to delete the values in the array. Then from that, again, if you want to parse the values in the array, you can use it's called the having one of those moments. STROPOS function. So there's this STRPOS function, and basically with that function, what you can do is you can test to see if a certain word or a certain string is within another string. If it is, then again you can set a value or set something to go off, or so on and so forth. So these are some things to be thinking about. Again, if you're going to go out there and create some more complicated scripts with PHP, using the exec function is a very valuable thing, and it's definitely something to play with. If you don't completely understand everything that I've said, go again. All the code is down in the doobly-doo. So go take a look at the code, read through the code, put it on your server, play around with it. Again, do things like var dump, see what is actually contained within the variable, see what's contained within the array, and then go and play with it as you see fit. So as always, I enjoy doing this class and look forward to seeing you at the next one. If you like the content that I create, please think about going to elithecomputerguy.com and becoming a member or donating. Please understand that all of the educational videos are in front of the paywall. That includes the videos, that includes the notes, the diagrams, and the code example. All of that is freely available and in front of the paywall. But if you want to watch opinion videos, or if you want to be able to comment, you do need to become a member. Membership is $5 a month or $60 a year, and gives you access to those opinion videos and the ability to comment. If you don't want to become a member, you just want to give a one-time donation, there's also a donate button where you can do that. Please understand, in order to provide the education that I am, it does cost money. Servers cost money, equipment costs money, travel costs money. All of these things cost a reasonable amount of money, and the fact of the matter is YouTube's advertising program no longer supports creators the way that it used to. So if you want these classes to continue to stick around and you find them to be valuable, please think about either becoming a monthly member or donating a few dollars for this project.